Alright, this is gonna, I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but I just wanted to go over this very unusual multi-tool made by Leatherman. This is called the Tread. I think one of the biggest things is not a lot of people own this. I think in large part because it's almost $200. But I was perusing wish.com and I found this tool and I'm like, okay, fine. I have a 3D printer. I want to sort of make something like this that would be kind of fun. So let me buy one of these inexpensive ones to see if I can use it to kind of help me figure out how I want to design one for myself. And then I got one in the mail. And to my surprise, not only is the craftsmanship nearly perfect, actually pretty much is perfect, I have a friend who owns a real one, same thing, 22 millimeter, and as you could see, yeah, hopefully you could see that. Let's see if you could see that. We're having trouble with the light, but pull out a flashlight here so you can see a little better. As you can see on the inside, and just about everything else, including the link IDs, everything that's listed on them, they are in every way identical to the real thing. I cannot in any way discern any difference between the two. What I will say about this is this tool that I bought on Wish was $26 with $10 shipping. And it came very fast, in fact, where the original tool from Leatherman's website is nearly $200. I don't even know where to begin. I've tested these bits on a number of things. I've cranked on them real hard, and they're exactly what I would expect from injection molded 420 stainless, which is what the original one was saying that it was, I believe. And this seems to perform identically to the one that my friend has. And so he was a little pissed off because it looks to me like that the original tool may have been made in China, and that they basically took the molds and they continued to make them and then sell them at a very, 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 very reduced price. So I definitely would, if you want to play with it but you didn't want the original price tag, I'd say check it out. The last thing is, I wore them for a little while and I found them rather uncomfortable. Like they would smash up against the top of my hand and the metal would actually hurt quite a bit. And then, so I took it off for a while, and then it came to me that I had these Ranger bands. This is a multi-pack that has various different sizes. And one of the sizes that I couldn't find any real use for, let's see if I can pour a couple of these out of here, was this small one right here. Now, Ranger bands can be made from the inner tubes of, bike inner tubes, I should say, and so you don't necessarily have to buy a pack like this, and you can cut them yourself. But this literally fit perfectly over the center of each of these tools. And it's very easy to move them out of the way if I need to use the tool that's under it. No problem whatsoever. Not only that, it also allows me to securely hold items inside. You might not be able to easily see this, but there's something tucked inside the hole that goes straight through this tool. This is actually a ferrocerium rod that I got out of a bracelet, a paracord bracelet, like a cheap one from Wish, and it works great. Now all I got to do is figure out a way to create a striker for it, like maybe on the edge here, and like sand it down to a 90 degree so I could strike it real easy. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. Or maybe on this flathead, maybe make one of these edges a 90 degree, something along those lines, and then all of a sudden I have the ability to start fires. The last thing I tried was also, I used these silicone washers, and putting 4 of them on this link right here, which has the Phillips and the flathead, and the 1/4 inch hex, which is under this, allows me to do some pretty interesting things. Let me see if I can find my hex bits. I actually forgot to grab them. Let's see if I can grab them from in here real quick. Give me a second. Of course, I don't have one. right when I need it. All right. So I will look for that and I will show a quick video of that demonstration. But these allow you to grip and hold a 1/4 inch hex without any issues whatsoever. And the back of these bands will actually keep it from going any farther down as well. So when you're holding it like this and using it to torque, you can put as much force as you want and it's not going anywhere. And it's not going to fall out either. So this worked really, really well for that purpose. This is a mod I highly, highly recommend. The other thing it does is you could kind of see it actually creates some thickness to this band, as well as giving it a little bit of cushion. One of the problems with this thing is that it's fairly uncomfortable, and all of these rubber pieces really, really improved the comfort for me. I really enjoyed wearing it. I barely even noticed it once I started doing that, even though it's heavy. And it was slightly too big for my wrist size, so this dimension on these bands actually helped quite a bit to tighten up the fit, which I was pretty happy with as well. So I have only put one thing in these slots, but there's a lot of opportunity here to improve what I put in. Like for instance, this large hex, it's possible to put something under there as well. And I don't think these silicone bands are the best for that because they don't stretch very far. These stretch quite a bit, but they do very well for this 1/4 inch hex piece. So that's one mod you can do. I've seen other people that have found a way to put a flashlight in this hole, which is pretty amazing. I might even do a small 3D print that allows me to put some circuitry in and turn like basically a slotted flashlight that goes straight into this. I'm hoping I can get like a 10 lumen flashlight diode that will work for that. That would be really neat if I can get that to work. And then there's some other mods here, but one thing I want to say is at $200, there's no way in hell I'd even attempt to buy this. However, at 26, maybe around 33, I think, with shipping, yeah, absolutely. This is really fun, really, really fun tool to play around with. And it actually does what it's supposed to do. It works good for the flatheads. It works good for the Phillips. The cutter actually works decently. And it has, a lot of these have slots in them that allow you to put additional things, including the Leatherman flat bits. They slide perfectly into the sides of the open ones. Now, most of these are covered right now, but a lot of them have slots that go straight through. Oh, wait, I can show you right here. So you can see what I'm talking about. They have these perfect slots, and they actually will fit the Leatherman hex bits, no problem. So you can secure them in that slot with one of these Ranger bands, and then you never have to worry about them. And the Ranger band provides a slight bit of comfort as well. So I definitely recommend that mod. And honestly, you can't really even tell that the bands are really there. It almost looks like they're part of the black anodized steel, which I think is really, really sweet. So I definitely would recommend checking those out to play around with it if you haven't, with thinking about it but don't want to spend the $200 price tag. Get this. I honestly can't see a single problem with it. I have gotten a lot of bad knockoffs from Wish just to see, but this is the exact opposite. It's so good, in fact, that it makes me wonder if this isn't the real deal itself. And the last thing I'm going to say about this tool is the price tag is stupid, because the first thing you have to do when you try to fit it is remove 2 of the links. Most people don't have wrists that big. So really, you're not paying for all the tool set. You're paying for, 65, 70% of the tool set. And if you use this for a watch, it's even less so. So what are the useful links here? Obviously, the cutter and the carbide glass punch are great tools. This particular one is probably the most useful link. It has a number 2 Phillips, a flathead screwdriver, and a 1/4 inch hex down the middle. I mean, basically, this is the link that matters. Everything else is pretty junky. And then the last one, which is actually brilliant, they have a 1/4 inch hex nut socket set, I should say. I'm trying to remember the words. Socket for this, which allows this to be a handle for that. Basically, this becoming a handle is what's really unique. It has the bottle opener, and then right here, you can't really tell. This is actually a square bit, which is pretty clever as well. So that is a great link right there. This is a great link. This is a great link. And that's kind of where it stops. This link, pretty much every other link on this entire tool is just fluff. It's like they designed that, they're like, this is amazing, and then they're like, okay, well, now what do we do? What they should have done, in my opinion, is these additional links should have real life functionality. Should be a flashlight, a compass. You know, you can still have tools in it. And then what else? I mean, there's a lot of things. You could have a slot with a cover that would allow you to carry a micro SD card inside. I mean, you're pretty close to that dimension already. You could have a 4mm hex driver. That would be very easy. And a lot of these 4mm bits, they just a little too big for this hole, but they could have easily made this compatible with a 4mm bit, so you could have two next to each other, and that would have been really clever as well. I mean, there's just a lot of potential here. The fact that you can fold it any direction you want, but when you're talking about twisting it, there's almost no play. I mean, that's the cleverness of it, is that it becomes a handle, a fairly ergonomic one, in fact, for a lot of different sets. You have the hex, you have the 1/4 inch hex here, and you have the potential for other ones as well. All of these holes are too big with the exception of that one, but if they had put a 1/4 inch, or sorry, the 4mm in there, you could have potentially made it a 4mm driver as well. So I would say try this if you want. Definitely get these with it though. You will find there will be so much more comfort to it. And I'm hoping that once I get my 3D printer back up and running, that I can start designing some links so I can cannibalize one of those small keychain flashlights and then go ahead and turn it into a flashlight link that I can use with some nylon, black nylon. And definitely, like, I'll angle the flashlight so it's slightly angled up, maybe like 20 degrees, so that when you're holding it, it will project away from your hand so there's no shadow. The other thing that I definitely want to see is just how strong the material is. Maybe it's possible to make this out of carbon fiber reinforced nylon instead of steel and gain a lot of benefit in the weight. This is quite heavy, whereas that would be very light. And then if you combine the right set of tools with a flashlight, that would be just incredible. So I'm kind of hoping that you could have that. Maybe even a watch with a compass built into it with an altimeter, like a Sunto watch, something like that would be really, really good. I mean, and just having all those tools means I don't have to carry things like a flashlight. I mean, yeah, if you want a flashlight that you're going to use for personal defense because they're very, very bright, all right, I get that. But this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a flashlight that actually makes sense. Not to mention, having one on your wrist means if I'm reaching into a hard-to-reach area, I don't have to hold I don't have to use two hands. I don't have to hold a flashlight to see what I'm grabbing. I can simply use the flashlight on my wrist to identify what I'm looking for and grab it from there. And then the last thing I'm going to say, I'm sorry this turned out a lot longer than I thought, is that as you can see, I have fairly hairy arms. Actually, I'd say much hairier than most people. And I have not had any issues with this pulling my hair out in any way. That is pretty impressive that it doesn't do that. And then there's one more thing. When you wear this, which I actually find fairly comfortable, and I kind of like how thick it is. It kind of looks kind of nice because my wrists are really thin. The piece that holds it in, the hex driver socket, which fits in with a little pin, if you are, say, punching with it or swinging an axe or something like that, what I have noticed is that the force of this sliding up towards your hand may be enough to pop it out. And because of that, occasionally I will use a Velcro wire tie, a thin one, and I will simply wrap it around this section to keep it from being pulled off. But with the Velcro wire ties, you could just pull off with one hand, so it doesn't make it any harder to remove one-handed. But if you are active and you do plan on wearing this and using like fast jerking motions, I do recommend you putting something to keep it from unclipping on you. It will be rather painful if it does. I was swinging a 20-pound sledge and actually hurt rather bad. It hit the back of my finger, and I wasn't all that happy about that. And I would imagine the real one has the same problem. So I would get something to hold it a little bit better, especially if you're active, and yeah, go from there. And the Velcro will still come undone with a tremendous amount of force, but I mean, and obviously if you work in machines that could suck, connect to this and suck in your hand, you probably shouldn't be wearing a bracelet in the first place. I've been very happy with it. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys give it a shot.